It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out this video. So today we're going to be having a look at the Angry Miao Compact Touch, also known as the AM65 Less. It's a bit of a special treat for me actually to be able to review this board, and I want to say a huge thanks to Gary, who has actually supplied this board back to me to actually review. If you've been keeping up with the channel and you've seen the previous video, the AM Touch actually was kindly passed my way to have a go at repairing it. I did do the repair, but I didn't have an opportunity to actually test it because the assembly of this board is actually quite complicated compared to a standard keyboard type setup. And noting that this board's relative rarity and the expense of this board, I didn't want to risk damaging it, especially because it deals with ribbon cables compared to, say, JST connectors on daughter boards and things that are a little bit more rugged and easier to deal with. So the board went back home to its owner. They put it back together and tested it and confirmed that it was working perfectly fine and offered for me to come and check it out. So we met up again. Gary lent me the board, and so we're going to have a look at it at, I guess, a pretty high level, because I'm definitely not going to be taking it apart. I don't want to damage it and run the risk or anything of that nature. Now, what exactly is the Angry Miao Compact Touch? Well, it was a board that was put together, I guess, by some people who had a lot of design elements to it. And to kind of go through what I mean by that, let's have a look at the actual product site. So it is a huge site. This is the slider over here, and it's a very long page. But essentially it's a 65% keyboard, and the really cool innovation about it is that it has this slider panel at the front, and that actually allows you to replace the arrow keys with it, and I guess potentially some other programmable functions in it. I'm not 100% sure around that, but it says you can operate the touch panel without moving your fingers. You can swipe and hold to control volume or fast forward, reverse, rewind, videos and stuff like that. So it's a really cool, nifty feature, but in regards to its use case, it's going to be very specific to how an individual wants those type of controls. I think it's a neat idea for sure. It's got a lot of stuff in here around the design and I guess some of the ergonomics, but this part we're not going to be able to look at because that's going to require taking this board apart. It has different spring leaves in it. So think of like a leaf spring in a car suspension, where it's a piece of metal that's bent in a certain way and it takes the shock and absorbs that and flexes. This keyboard takes that kind of principle and supplies you with a couple of different sets of the actual spring, and the different mount points will actually provide you a different feel. I don't know what Gary has put in here. I'm certainly not going to take it apart to check, but it's a really cool concept as well. So then we talk about its styling, color range, and this is the front of it off. And yeah, it's a huge page. There's lighting effects obviously in it. As you can see, there's a lot of design appearance related matters here. Then there's engraved and non-engraved. I believe this is the non-engraved version. What else? Some other kind of stuff. The actual raffle to actually get one of these, to my understanding, because it wasn't just a straight up pre-order type of situation. So here we go. It's a 10-degree angle, which is actually quite high compared to a standard 5 or a 7 degree that you might see. 1.4 kilos, quite a lot of heft to it. We'll be able to check that out. Standard sort of 65%. You can remap it, bunch of colors, and that is the straight up set. So you'll get the 4 ink stabilizers, you'll get the leaf spring flex kit in it, and a bunch of these things. Now, what we've actually got in here though is, I believe they're Neapolitan switches. So I don't think they're the default switches that might have actually come with this particular keyboard. The key set I'm not 100% sure on, but it kind of almost looks like a Taihao Cubic, maybe. It matches the keyboard really well, so that's cool. So that is what the website is offering on this particular board. So let's have a look at the board. Here it is. So we've got the white and blue two-tone on it. It's got a lot of heft. I definitely don't want to drop it because I'll get in trouble. There is that front touch sensor in white. The back of it is, oh no, it is the engraved version. There we go. I don't know if it'll show up very well, but it actually says less is more right there. Less is more right there. It's fuzzy because that engraving isn't, it doesn't have particular color element. It's not filled in, so it's quite a subtle thing there. The profile of that 10 degrees is, it's chunky. Now the bottom side actually still has the protective cover tab here, so I'm definitely not going to go peeling that off. And we can see down here there's a particular serial on that, a 5000 milliamp hour 19 watt hour battery in it. So the AM65 less by Angry Miao Technologies. It is hefty. It is hefty. So got my kitchen scales because it reckons it's 1.4. So we're going to see how that fits out once it's actually fully kitted. We're just going to re-tear that back to 0 and 1558. So it's packing another 158 grams with the switches and the keycaps that have been put on this by Gary. So, you know, we're talking 1.5 kilos. That's like, what, 3 pounds or thereabouts? It's definitely got a lot of oomph to it. Right. I can tell you right now, this board is not going to flex, right? It's so solid that there's just no flex that's going to happen. Any springiness that you feel when you type on this is going to be purely based upon the springs that you actually load onto this. Now, in terms of identifying what we see of the action, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to bring up switch header, which I'm going to have on my monitor. So you'll see there's switch header in the middle, and hopefully that will indicate that these actions are doing what they are doing. So this cable is just one that was provided to me, but it's not a cable that came with the keyboard to my knowledge. We'll get that in. All right, so we've got some lights that blinked. I'm just going to open a notepad and just make sure that it's actually outputting. It sure is. Okay, so don't save. We're going to go across. Just wondering if there's a way I can add on the fly while I'm doing this a video capture source, or maybe a program. Maybe I should just do an application. Is this going to work? Window capture. Okay, we'll call that, and yeah, switch header, that works. All right, so hopefully you can see that on the video. It's appearing on the interface there. So that was not what I intended. Switch header. There we go. All right. Still learning, even though I've been doing videos for a long time. All right. So the keyboard's plugged in, and if we just test in general, it's certainly working. Now the B key was the one that wasn't working, and all of the matrix on the left-hand side was fully disconnected. So that wire bridging, that jump that I did to connect it to the rest of the matrix, seems to be working just fine. Interestingly, the enter is actually defaulting to a numpad enter. Okay, so everything else is working really well. Yep. QWERTY, caps lock, shift, control alt. I don't believe there's a win key involved in this. no tilde. All right, so all the standard keys work, and now the magic, the thumb, is right, left, up, down. Wow, mind blown. Okay, so you do actually need to touch it. It definitely is a touch. Let's just clear that again. Actually, is there? No. All right. So if I'm just wiggling my fingers, nothing is happening. But if I touch it just on the edge, nope. Okay. So I have to be somewhere roughly in the middle. Oh, so that just gave me a down and a left without realizing it. Yeah, that's really interesting. So the degree of movement is quite subtle. Now, this is heavy. Right. So, right, left, up, down. Oh, but see, I managed to trigger both somehow just then, or very quickly. Oh, see, I can trigger. I think the distinction between up and down is probably not as good compared to left and right. But you certainly can't get comboed. Oh, yeah, you can kind of do, yeah, see, up right, down left, right, down right. Yeah, okay. So you can definitely do those combos, but I guess it takes a little bit getting used to. At the risk of sounding really dumb about this, I feel like I don't know if the sensitivity is controllable on this, by the way, but up and down differentiation is probably nicer if they could make this pad bigger, made it higher. I realize that by doing that, the entire keyboard height goes up as well, but that would make it definitely easier to work with because you've got so much real estate for left and right control, but up and down, it's not as nice. So I guess if you're scrolling, left and right, that's fine. But if you're trying to scroll up or down on a web page or an Excel spreadsheet or something like that, then I feel like you could get a longer scroll or a longer press if you had a bit more height. And look, you can't really use a wrist rest with this anyway. Okay, so it's going to be blocked unless if you have two halves. So you could have a wrist rest that was just split or even a cutout there, and then that would support you being able to have a higher board with a larger sensor. I think that works out pretty well. Right, now, in terms of typing and feel. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a sound test, noting that this contains what I believe are the Neapolitan switches. And if you know what these keycaps are, please comment below and then everybody else can tell. But yeah, for me, I have absolutely no idea what they are off the top of my head. Let's head back over to the monitor. Boop. And let's switch over to monkey type. I've actually got the measurement microphone set up as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to the measurement mic, drop out the ribbon mic, and you should be hearing me now on the measurement mic. Might be a bit too loud. How's that? Okay, that might be a little bit better. And we'll go back to monkey type. Let's try another one. Wow. Wow. Okay, so we're switched back out to the river microphone now. Well, I mean, you can see that I'm typing at a reasonable pace, 99 words per minute, and 97% accuracy, so it's definitely really easy and really smooth to type with. These switches also are really cool. Good weight to them, good snap to it. I guess my commentary to how this keyboard feels and sounds to my ears, as opposed to what you might hear from the actual measurement microphone here, the calibration mic that I've got here, is that it's very quiet, but it's also really sharp. The bottom out sounds are quite crisp, but there's no hollowness at all to this keyboard. The dampening in it, it does have dampening foam, and if you looked at the repair video, you'll see that it actually has foam layers that are, there is a foam layer that's glued to the bottom of the PCB, which in itself was interesting to try and repair around. But I didn't feel any flex on it, and I guess I don't absolutely smash the keyboard. I don't press it very hard, and I'm certainly not going to go pressing excessively on this because not my keyboard. But it's a really, really snappy response. I think it's a little bit weird with the 10%. My comfort, and you can kind of see from the graph of when I was typing, I did actually have a bit of a sort of slower start, and then it kind of started to creep up as I got more comfortable with typing on it. The first one, you know, a little bit fluctuating as I'm getting used to it, but you can see how steady that became once I was just that second time round. Obviously, the more that I type with this, if I keep using it, I think I'd probably get used to that 10% just fine. Sorry, that 10-degree angle just fine. Using a wrist rest probably would help with that, but it's not uncomfortable straight off the bat is probably what I would say. And I like it. Good spring weight for me for these switches. The sound, yeah, it's nice. The look on this is really clean. It works really well. It doesn't move at all because that massive weight on it, plus the fact that it does have these feet as well. So there's 4 good sized rubber feet on that. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going to do the bump test or anything of that nature because I don't want to scuff them and wear them, but my table surface is pretty smooth. You will have seen other boards that do slide around if they're a bit lighter, but this is not going anywhere. Wow. Well, that I think is about as much as I can really do to review and talk about this AM Compact Touch. I don't want to be pulling keycaps off. I don't want to be pulling switches out. I don't want to be disassembling it. I've given you a general overlook of it and the feel and the sound of it. And I must say, I really like this board. I really enjoy this board. I can see myself using something like this in general. If they made a larger version of this, a 96 key, 1800, or even a full size, I think it'd be really cool. Lots of mass in it, lots of mass, which I do like. Having this touch feature definitely is cool, which the 96 key 1800 kind of thing, you could definitely take that cluster out and you'd be able to use that. Or you could leave it in for other dedicated purposes. Like if you're playing games with arrow keys, this is not probably the best way of doing it. But for ergonomic function, I think this works really well for those simple swipe actions and scroll actions. So it's kind of like, you know, on a mouse, you know, this is my Logitech MX Master 3. It's got that sideways scroll wheel. I use this for work. Obviously, I have this dodgy, cheapo Gigabyte thing for home use. But having that flywheel mechanism on the MX3 is really great. And, you know, having that side scroller as well is really great. So this kind of accommodates for both of those. Right, that's pretty much it. I'm probably going to record a bit of an ASMR for a bit longer typing on it. Kind of like some of the other videos in the ASMR list. So if you are interested in hearing more, probably about 10 or 12 minutes worth of typing on this, do check that out when that comes out. I'll release it at some later date. But thank you very much, Gary, for giving me a second chance to actually check out this board and to check it out properly. It's a bit of a shame that you didn't actually supply me with the case because it was a really big hefty case. So if you do want to see that, that's also in the bridging video, just what that package looked like. And as a whole experience, getting that brand new, unopened, and opening that up and getting that as a storage display unit, I think that was also a really cool touch too. Well, that's it. Thanks very much for checking out this video. Hit that like button, subscribe button, bell notification, the usual jazz that helps all of us little creators get ahead on YouTube. And yeah, drop me a comment below if you think this is a good board, liked it, didn't like it, would love for them to do more runs on it, and so on and so forth. And if Gary sees this and has any interest in commenting and answering any of the questions you might have there, then that would be cool too. Well, thank you, and as usual, until next time, happy clacking.